Nigeria's criminal justice system is beset by a plethora of challenges, aside from the perennial delays in adjudication of cases due to sundry reasons. Lack of infrastructure and attitudinal dispositions of both the bar and the bench are viewed as key culprits fostering a dysfunctional criminal justice system on Africa's largest judicial system. Petty crime is seen as a crime committed by mostly people in poverty-stricken region of Africa, and it also has to do with adopted colonization laws that is not common with Africans. Poverty is the main focus of the cause of petty crimes. It is identified as the core reason of the crime and has to be eradicated to put a stop to the rise in criminal acts. At an event organized by National Human Rights Commission, stakeholders, however, aired their views on petty crimes in Nigeria.
In reforming this law that concerned petty offenses, the amendment of certain existing laws and enactment of new laws to eliminate the criminal factor attached to these offenses and formulate civil and alternative sanctions for such acts. The terms of imprisonment attached to these offenses must be deleted or reduced to the barest minimum. Due to the fact that the economically incapacitated and vulnerable persons are likely offenders, the fines attached the fines attached to these offenses must be such that can be affordable.
The first thing will be to make the point that poverty is not a crime. Homelessness is not a crime. Unemployment is not a crime. And then government has an obligation to ensure the welfare and security of its citizens. Accordingly, it's being advocated that government improves social safety nets. Improvement in social safety nets will reduce poverty in society. And when poverty is reduced in society, these conducts that currently constitute petty offenses will be reduced. So addressing poverty, because poverty is the root cause of engaging in the conducts that are termed petty offenses. Therefore, if poverty is addressed, if social safety nets is scaled up in the country, the incidence of poverty will reduce. And if the incidence of poverty is reduced, engagement in the conducts that currently constitute petty offenses will also reduce correspondingly.
Other stakeholders of the National Human Rights Commission and other agencies enjoin the government to look into both legislative and judicial section of the law in order to put a lasting solution to the menace.
People need to do some things which may run foul of our laws. And those are the kind of things we are talking about. Like we talk about street trading. An average person will not want to put, his children on the road to be hawking, or himself may not want to be hawking on the road if there are other means of survival, of livelihood, but they have to survive. So we should not criminalize those of those things. Then there are some other ones like vagrancy, people just being picked on the road. Sometimes you see the other ones like conduct likely. What is conduct likely? Those are very vague offenses in our statute books that we need to look at and see whether it is actually the duty of government to actually make sure that people are not living below poverty line.
The whole question of criminalizing petty offenses is actually criminalizing poverty to that extent, because a lot of these laws are targeted at people who are basically trying to find for their own survival, making ends meet. So if you criminalize these acts, then you impact very negatively on the poor of the poorest in society. because the rich always have their means, the rich always have a way of how to get out of this kind of problems, and it is not them who are eventually affected or impacted to a very large extent. So we seek to speak to everybody who is concerned so that they can have a relook at these laws to ensure that eventually the poor are not affected adversely by laws that are meant to address what they are calling petty offenses. In essence, petty offenses are things that can be addressed through other means and not necessarily criminalizing them and taking them to jail.
The Human Rights Commission urged both the government and every other stakeholders to come up with a lasting solution to put an end to petty crimes in our nation.